Welcome back. It's Sports This Morning on Channels Television. The conversation as regards Sam Allardyce leaving the England manager role in just 67 days cannot be pushed aside. Not now. Let's go to England. BBC correspondent Seth Bennett is standing by to give his perspective on the issue. Good morning, Seth. Welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning. Great to be with you as ever.
Okay, Seth, Sam Allardyce already gone in just 67 days. Oh my God, did you see it coming?
Well, I don't think anybody saw it coming, did they? That was the whole thing with this. I was working yesterday, and even at 4 o'clock English time yesterday, we were all kind of shaking our heads going, I wonder what's going to happen here. And basically the FA had two things that they could do. Number one would be to say, he's made a mistake, but we're going to back him. Number two was just to say, look, we're going to sack him. We're going to get rid of him. And in the end, they had the conversation and said, look, this is not right. You're going to have to move on. And I think it's different, isn't it? To be the England manager, you are the figurehead of football in England. And for you to be caught being at the very best naive, at the worst, something much, much worse, and also the appearance of his greed. I mean, he's earning £3 million a year, $5 million a year, yet he's still negotiating $600,000 to give advice, potentially. And these are huge allegations, but I just think that this has lifted the lid on a very seedy part of English football that many have turned a blind eye to for an awful lot of years. And I'll tell you what, this morning, there are going to be a lot of middle-aged men who've worked in football in the last 2 decades who are going to be feeling very, very nervous.
Yeah, Seth, I was going to come to that, just before you mentioned it. I mean, obviously Sam Allardyce wasn't the only target of the sting operation. I mean, should we expect more stunning revelations in the days to come?
Absolutely. There were 8 Premier League managers or previous Premier League managers who've been implicated in bungs over the course of the last 24 hours, again in the Daily Telegraph article. Now, I think it's a much bigger problem than that. I've worked within football within the UK for the last, 19 years? And, this is something that is almost joked about within football circles. Managers taking bungs, managers agreeing with players that they would take half of their appearance fee if they were to be put on as a substitute late on in the game. These kind of stories have done the rounds. I have absolutely no proof, so I can't name names and point fingers, but these are stories I've been told time and time and time again over the course of the last 15 years, something like that.
Seth, has this in any way dented the reputation of English football?
Absolutely it has, yes. We English like to think that we're whiter than white, that we run a clean ship and that corruption and all this kind of stuff goes on elsewhere. But this highlights the fact it is a problem within the UK, it's a problem within England, and it's a problem right at the highest level. And, for me, I look at some of the people like Sam Allardyce who've been implicated in this, and you look at them. These are guys who've not made the kind of money in their playing career that the current players have, that are comfortable, that can retire. They've had to carry on working all the way through, and they're only now reaping their biggest rewards of the whole of their life. And you can't help but think that those are people who put a bigger premium on money than maybe... You can't imagine David Beckham being implicated in something like this, because what's £400,000 to him? He'll just go and sign off another clothing line or go and make another advert or whatever. So I think there is a certain generation of manager. George Graham, the former Arsenal and Tottenham manager, he was one who was actually charged for this a few years ago. And I think it's managers of that generation, you could look on probably a 10 to 15 year span, that maybe will have a bigger role to play in this investigation as time goes on.
Okay, Seth, before we let you go, Gareth Southgate has been placed in temporary charge now for the next 4 World Cup qualifiers. What is chances of actually, making that job ease on a permanent basis?
Have you ever seen that film with Richard Pryor in it, where essentially he ends up running for mayor and ends up getting the job, but his campaign is vote for none of the above? Well, that seems to be Gareth Southgate's situation, isn't it? He doesn't want the job. He said he doesn't want the job. It's too early within his career. He's got no interest. So what's he going to do? Well, he's going to take charge of the next 4 England games, and he's going to be in charge of England 4 times longer than Sam Allardyce. So, go figure. Look, I think what they're going to do here, the FA, I think they're going to let Gareth Southgate take charge in the short term. If he does very well and England are victorious in all of their 4 games, then there's a conversation to be had. I think otherwise he's biding time until Arsene Wenger reaches the end of his contract with Arsenal, and then I think the FA will make a pretty strong play to get Wenger in. Wenger could still keep a position within Arsenal, somewhere more senior in an advisory role at the club, could take on the England manager's job, and that would be a nice transition for him to move away from there at the end of his contract. I don't think Wenger will break that contract. I don't see that being a scenario. But if Wenger's the man that the English FA wants, then they're going to have to wait until the summer. They've got to find some kind of interim boss in between times. I'm just surprised, they've not maybe looked at somebody who's done this kind of thing before, somebody like a Glenn Hoddle, and just said, look, Glenn, you go, you take them for the course of this next 4, 5, 6 games, however long we need you. And then they give themselves more options. I think with Gareth Southgate, they are really limiting themselves to somebody that can't take the job on a permanent basis.
Thank you so much, Sir Bennett, for your time. We will stop the conversation for now, but we'll get you talking again when there is a development on this issue. Thank you. Really deep.
Yeah, I just said Arsene Wenger. Wow.
We never mentioned that. But
yeah, what a choice that would be.
A lot of work for the FA, though, to be able to convince.
But that would be a very good appointment.
You use the word transition. Yeah, keep an advisory role at Arsenal and then take charge of the Trade Lions.